Hello there. So, hi, I'm Scott. When I was in graduate school, I did my thesis. My thesis project was called Making Things Beautiful and Making Beautiful Things. And I was kind of a jerk about it, a little bit, because I felt like the department that I was in did not do a good job of like facilitating the creation of good, final, robust, polished projects. Like it was very much, which I understand, they had this culture of like, oh, fail big, whatever. And like, but it meant that a lot of people didn't take things over the finish line. It was a lot of just like rough, like, oh, well, I tried, but gosh darn, I couldn't do it or whatever. Like there just wasn't, from my perspective, a culture of like, okay, let's get this done and make it good. And we can experiment and fail and retry along the way, but let's end up with a like final polished thing. And I thought that my department did a bad job of that. And so part of my thesis was I would just have my own office hours. And if anybody felt like they weren't getting what they needed from the classes or instructors that they had, they could bring any project to me and I would try to help them. And yes, that was very like, I don't know. It was kind of intentionally sort of a slap in the face to the department. I don't know. That's a big topic. Anyway, so there was kind of like, I guess I would say it was partially a statement about, you know, my TheLifeIsYours opinion of the department, but really it's something I enjoy doing. Like, and it was an interesting challenge for me because my whole thesis again was about making things and the difficulties of making things. And so what I really liked about the office hours is sometimes it was people that needed help with an idea. Sometimes it was people that needed help with some technical aspect of something. Sometimes it was people who needed help completing something. And I think it really helped me with like my abilities, not only with my own abilities to accomplish things, but also with my abilities to like help people and mentor them in all stages of the project, from like the design and planning phase to the execution phase to the release delivery phase. And so that is something I enjoyed. And I've done a little bit of that since then by doing workshops and stuff like that. I've done online mentoring with a site called Design Lab that I've kind of enjoyed, but there's things about that aren't perfect, even though I do like it. But I guess I've been trying to imagine a scenario where like, well, maybe I can just do that sometimes and help people out. And I don't know what the structure is for it, but I kind of like the idea of having office hours on stream. And my guinea pig today will be TheLifeIsYours, who is having difficulty with a platform to easily deploy a bunch of Node.js applications. And I've used stuff like Heroku in the past, and I like Heroku in general. It's kind of limiting. It starts to cost money very quickly, and it's not super expensive, but if you have like a bunch of little apps, like those add up pretty fast, which is unfortunate. There's a lot of other places that would host Node.js, but what I've been kind of wanting is something a little bit in the middle of like, okay, you have these entirely managed services like Heroku, where it's just like, hey, take this, host it, do whatever, scale it, whatever. You have a Red Hat OpenShift, I think is one. There's a number of those things where it's like, hey, take my Node.js thing and host it. At the other end, there's like, well, I guess we'll just set it up bare metal on a server, you know, like just do everything manually. And there is AWS and EC2 and all that stuff like we did for the extension, but that was way at that end also of like, it's kind of a hassle every time. And so what would be pretty cool is to have something in the middle, something that is like your own server, your own setup, no additional cost, it's pretty cheap. No additional cost per little experiment you want to do, and it can just kind of persist and live. And so there's a thing that I didn't even know about until yesterday called Dokku that kind of works for that. It's kind of like a mini platform as a service or whatever. That I don't know, there's so many weird words for these things now. Do they call themselves a PaaS? What does Dokku call itself? Dokku, how do you self-identify? Yes, platform as a service. So in those other cases I described, like Heroku is the platform or OpenShift is or whatever. In this case, you are like, you just spin up a DigitalOcean droplet and it's $5 a month, and then you get Dokku all set up, and it seems pretty cool. So I came across this yesterday while talking to TheLifeIsYours on the Discord. he gave it a shot. He had some trouble seemingly with permission stuff, so I thought I would just run through the setup because I kind of want to know how to. I went through this morning. Seems pretty cool. There are some spots that seem like minor stumbling blocks if you're not super familiar with sort of Linuxy, Unixy, let's configure a server kind of thing. But in general, I thought it went pretty smoothly. And the outline that I kind of followed was this post on Medium by Tim Perry, host your node app on Dokku and DigitalOcean. And so this is kind of what I followed. It doesn't go into detail, so maybe we can find a little more detail here and fill in some of the steps that weren't explicitly outlined. But other than that, I thought we'd just go through the process. So I deleted everything I had set up. I got it working, and then I just deleted all that stuff to start again. The only thing I kept was this, which is based on the Heroku Hello World app, but it's like the most minimum little Express-based node app you can imagine. Super simple, super minimal. I didn't do anything special here. I mean, it's the way I would normally set up Node. Like the one thing that I did add manually was this, so that an npm start will actually run the service. Beyond that, it is like as simple a Express-based application I could kind of come up with mentally. The port variable, just like on Heroku, looks like Dokku sets for you automatically. So this is the one thing that comes to us from the outside world. Otherwise, it would default here. So I think that's that. So I think we're just going to go through it. And I feel like I'm always in danger of showing too much on stream. So hopefully I don't dox myself too horribly in the process of this, or dox any of my servers or anything. But I don't think there's anything secret or anything on the particular projects or service pages that we're going to look at. So, like going over this dude, not this dude, this dude, and just kind of looking at the steps. Get a DigitalOcean account, get that all set up, launch a Dokku instance. So if you haven't used DigitalOcean, it's pretty nice, and it's got this pretty handy thing when you create a droplet, which is sort of just their name for, I guess, a VPS, just like a server instance. It has these like pre-configured presets you can do. So cloud server is what they call it. So let's do, they have more features since the last time I looked, actually. Maybe I should look into that stuff. So here's what we want to do. We want to do a one-click app. We want to do Dokku. We want to go way down here to the $5 a month thing. If I was really going to keep this, I'd probably have the automatic backups on for $1 a month. We don't need any block storage. We don't need any of this. And I'm just going to put it in San Francisco because I'm on the West Coast. Again, these are all optional things. We don't really need any of this stuff. Now, SSH Key, I already added one. This is the public key, so it's not a problem here. But actually, I kind of want to go through that process again. So let's let me switch off here and just make sure that I don't do anything horrible. I know the pop-up of mousing over the key. Fortunately, that is public, so that is not a concern. But let me just toast that SSH key, and we will just so we're going through the full process of what might be tricky. So I went back to there. I just went and deleted it from security. So we'll be starting more from scratch here. Now I got to go through this process again, but it was tiny. So this, Dokku. Love how they default to the $40 a month one, and they don't even show the $5 a month one unless you scroll over. But hey, they got to make money. San Francisco. Okay, here's the first part that may be tricky. I'm going to make a new SSH key. Right now, I deleted my .ssh file, so I have there's no SSH keys or configuration here. Here being in my Windows subsystem for Linux is where I decided to do this. So like I don't even have a .ssh folder at this point. We're going to start from scratch creating that, which would be SSH keygen, I think. Yes. So here is where I'm going to generate a new SSH key. That is where I want to put it. That's fine. Oops. Don't minimize when I'm talking to you. I'm going to create a passphrase. Let me just switch over here while I type some things. Okay, so in doing that, all I did was the passphrase and then entered it again. And it goes through all the jazz. Here it all is, great. And now in my SSH folder, I had the private and public key. So I want to take the full contents of this public key, and that is what is going to go over here. So be sure it's the public one. This whole string is going to go here. Starting with the SSH RSA all the way down to there. And I'm just going to call this Starling because that's the machine I'm on. I won't keep this long term because I don't plan to keep this server up. Okay, so my SSH key is now added. That is important. This is also important. I'm going to do j38.net here, even though that's not really what I'm going to use because we're only going to point subdomains here. But I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second. This is going to be, you could do this, but this is my base domain. And then I'm going to have all the subdomains set up through Dokku. So I think that's all we need to do. So we're going to do that, and it's just going to take a moment. And we have to wait for a second to... that's really J38, so that's really where that is pointing, but I'll show you why I did it this way in a minute. I mean, that doesn't really matter. I could have called this anything, actually. Probably. Because we will create a DNS entry for the subdomain that I want to go to Dokku. I could have done a wildcard thing. My first test, I did do a wildcard where I pointed dokku.j38.net here, but I'm going to try it in an even more simplified way. Okay, now I have an IP address for this. That it made it hard to copy. Just let me copy it. Okay, I have to push the copy button. Great. So now I'm going to go over here and go to this IP, and it should take me to a Dokku setup page. This takes a moment. I think we have to wait a little bit while we wait for Dokku to happen. I want you to shrink. Yeah. So going back here, yeah, 60 seconds later, open its IP, get the Dokku setup page, should already have all that stuff, and then finish setup. So there'll be one other thing we want to do there. I think we just have to wait for this. Yeah. We'll just wait for a moment. It doesn't because you've already given it an SSH key and a host name now? What do you mean? I'll show you when I set up, I'll give it a different host name. That's not the host name I'm actually going to use. But it will. I will see that setup page. Right? I did before. It just took a little time. Oh, you didn't? I'm pretty sure I got it. You think it isn't because I already... I thought I got it, but it took a little time to refresh. Like... But maybe I'm mistaken on that. Maybe I did something different the first time. I don't think I did. I think I put in the whole deal. Because you need to be able to say whether you want to use the port-based setup or the... whatever. Whether you want to do the virtual host-based setup or the port-based setup on that config page. And I'm almost sure this is how I did it before. Oh, it's the host name. Oh man, well, I kind of screwed this up actually. I needed to do it with the virtual host name. Okay, I can't do it like this because I need to go to the actual URL. So okay, there it goes. It worked. Well, the reason maybe it worked faster the last time I did it is because I did make a specific URL point to this. and was able to have it come up. Anyway, so it eventually came up, right? So we're good. So this is the additional thing we want. I want Dokku. Actually, I just want j38.net here and use the virtual name host, and then any of my apps will be app.j38.net. Okay, sorry about that confusion. It just takes a little while to start up. I feel like it was a little faster for me for the first time because I didn't use j38.net. I used a specific URL there, but ignore that part. Okay, so are we good? We just waited and it eventually came to us, right? Got it? And then all I did here was say, I want to use the virtual host name, not port-based. You can do the port-based if you were going to set up Nginx to be a reverse proxy, which is maybe the smart thing to do long run, but this is the easier version of this, is to just say app name dot whatever my domain is. On your second setup, you got it? Okay. For me, it just took a minute. So I'm going to do finish setup here. I think this is everything I need. We're good, right? Okay. So now we are up to, we got a SSH in here. And so what I want to do is, we can do it with just the IP, but let's go ahead and make our DNS entry for this. Why won't you just let me copy you without, okay. So we want an A name, just Dokku, and we're gonna point it there. Let's not do any of the cloud routing stuff. So now we should be able to go to dokku.j38.net and it will point to a specific demo. Again, I did it differently the first time where I had dokku.j38.net as like the main host for the server and then individual apps, but this is a simplified version, I think. Okay, so now dokku.j38.net is a real thing, or should be. I might have to flush my cache. No, okay, so we got it. So I can now SSH root at dokku.j38.net, and I'm in the world of where I want to be. Like I'm still in my bash world where I created that key. So when I do this, that actually work? Yes. Okay, yes, I want to connect here. Now it's going to ask for the passphrase of that key I just created. Okay. Now I'm logged in. So this is me on that server, which I really should have called something else because my other server's called that. Anyway, we're going to delete this. So now all we need to do here, the only step is to add an app. So I'm going to go Dokku apps create, and this will just be the app. We'll just call it Dokku because that's what my DNS entry is for. So now I have an app called Dokku, and now we need to go here. Let's go wherever that is. I think it is Mount C. Is that not right? Oh, I'm on the remote server still. Can I not open a new window? Windows bash. Okay. That was a silly mistake. Users, Scott, desktop, demo. Okay, this is this demo. So what do we need to do here? We need to do a git init and git add everything, git commit. Okay, so we're all good on git. Now I need to add this as a remote. So this is going to be git remote add Dokku, and it's going to be Dokku at dokku.j38.net or whatever host. I mean, they're all pointed to the same IP, so like don't get too hung up on that part. This is just, I could put the IP address in here. The like, there's like two parts of this that make it a little complicated. There's the idea that, hey, this is just an IP address that points to that IP. So everything is going to go to that IP, no problem. As far as like the special routing of what happens with that IP is only a browser-based thing based on the Heroku config. or sorry, the Dokku config. And then my app name was Dokku. This is maybe really redundant, but again, this is going to be the remote Git name, which is Dokku, but it could kind of be anything I want. This does have to be Dokku because this is the username on my remote server. This could have been anything. It's just the host name that I happen to make up to point to my app. And this is what my app was named, but it could have been named anything. So I know I have Dokku 4 times here, but they all mean different things, and I hope it's clear what each of them means. Again, this is just the name, my local name for the Git remote to push to. This is the actual username on my droplet. This is the host name for that. That could easily be the IP or some other address that pointed to that IP. And this is the app name that when we, over here, when we did this is the name of the app. So I hope it's not confusing that all of those things are Dokku. So we add that. Sometimes it seems like these windows don't get focus when they're supposed to get focus. Okay, so now that is added. So all I have to do, so I already did the npm start. So we know that, let's just do it to be sure. Npm start. It's going to start this hosting on port 500. I'm sorry, 5000, localhost 5000. We're all good. We're all good. So I just need to push this now. And I'm going to push it to Dokku master. Again, this is just the name of the Git remote. There's nothing special about it. It corresponds to this. It's going to ask me for the passphrase that we just created. It's the same passphrase I needed to log in as root because I used the same SSH key. I didn't have to, but I did. Log in with that passphrase, and then we will start pushing, and it will go through, and if everything works, then at the end of this, it will spit out the IP address. Okay, but did you do every step exactly as I did it? Like in creating the SSH key gen, all of the stuff, did you do every step exactly as I did it? And not change the name of your SSH key, anything like that? Paste the exact contents of the pub key to both your Heroku setup and then saw it there for Dokku? Like, make a new key. I mean, like, if do everything exactly as I did it and it should work. We'll look and see if there's anything special in my SSH config. I don't think there was. I don't think I even have one, but let's just see. Maybe it defaults because of the name. I don't actually know. Like going into my... No, there's no config telling it to go anywhere. I don't know if it's just I mean, maybe it's defaulting to this name. I could not tell you. I don't even have SSH running, SSH agent running. Like, I didn't have to do anything special here. I mean, you saw me do everything from scratch. So now it's pushed, and now I have dokku.j38.net, and we should see hello world. So this is the thing. And anytime I want to redeploy, I just do a git push to there, and it should rebuild, and everything should be good. Right? 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 So it seems like your problems are on the SSH key. I would say do everything just like I did. Make a new SSH key from scratch. Make sure that's the one that you use with the full contents of the key, including the prefix and the suffix. And if I wanted to add more domains, I would just create more apps, and then I would push to another one. So we could even kind of do that. We could kind of cheat that. So let's go through that process and just make another app for kicks. So let's create an app called TheLifeIsYours. And then let's make another DNS entry, TheLifeIsYours, and also point that to this IP. No cloud stuff. Okay. And make sure we can ping that. Yes. So now let's do, let's add a remote again. And this time we'll add it for the app, TheLifeIsYours. Oops. We need to change the remote name, TheLifeIsYours. Okay, hello, TheLifeIsYours. Okay, now I'm gonna push TheLifeIsYours master, and I'm gonna enter. Okay, that's deploying. I'm kind of into this. Like, I have a fair number of things on Heroku on their free plan. The thing that's annoying about the free plan is it sleeps the process. And two things happen. I don't get why you never get asked for the key password. That's a SSH problem. Like, if you, I don't know either, but I think you should go through the steps exactly as I did. Create, like, that key, is that in your .ssh folder? Like, is it there? Is it available? Like, where's that key? Do an SSH key gen just like I did it. I don't know the exact mechanism that SSH decides. Maybe it looks at all the keys that are in there. Good morning, Binary C. Well, don't put it there. I mean, okay, one, you could probably put it there if you manually set up an SSH config file, but put it in your home directory again, like, when you do just do what I did. Just do an SSH key gen, and it will create the key and put it in .ssh where SSH can find it. Now, you could have that key. Also, is your private key right next to that? Where's your private key? Because you can't just have the pub. You have to have the private key as well. Okay, and now I should have a TheLifeIsYours.j38.net. Yes, and now I have this. Now, the one thing, like Binary C mentioned yesterday, you could have an SSH config file like this, and in your config file, you could probably point to you could point where to look. Something like this, like you'd set up the host and then all this fun stuff, and then point it to a specific key, something like this, where they have all these different keys. Then you could manually specify your key. But I don't think you need to do that. I think if you just generate a new key, you should be okay. Yeah, Binary C, I've never tried this before, but it seems pretty cool. So actually, Life is Yours just to try. Let's try that. Let's go to my home directory and let's move .ssh to something else. And let's see if I can because again, I off the top of my head don't know the mechanism that it uses to find that. Okay, look, permission denied. So this is your problem, right? It can't find the key because it's not automatically found because it's not in my .ssh folder. It's in the wrong place. So I have two options here. Either have everything in .ssh where it belongs, and that's both the private key and the public key, right? Like they're both in here, the private and the public. Actually, I'm a little confused. Is that the private key or the public key? What actually goes in identity file? Why do these always have .key on them? Okay, that is the private key. Identity file looks like the private key. Oh, look, yeah, here is, it's a default. So that's why it knows how to look in .ssh ID RSA. So that's the reason it was finding it automatically for me. However, you can stay doing what you're doing if you go into .config or .ssh, edit your config file, and then we need something like host Dokku, and it'll be hostname Dokku.j38.net, user Dokku, port is fine. Identity file needs to be tilde something else ID RSA. Did I do that right? Oh, I need to change my permissions, or wrong. Probably because there are two open. What is that, 600? Read white. I can't remember the masks. You did SSH keygen and you looked inside your .ssh in your home directory. 700 adds the executable bit though, doesn't it? I don't want it to be executable. Yeah, 700 adds executable. I think I wanted 600. Yeah, it's 600. Okay, what did I do wrong? Identity file. Oops. Is that not the right syntax? Why doesn't it like that? Oh, because I didn't type the word right at all. If I could spell. Okay, that still didn't work. What did I do wrong? Because I need to... Oh, well, now I need to like edit my get remote. And change this. This was gonna look weird, but since this is my like host shortcut, yeah, and then it works. And I enter. So that works by manually setting up a host in there. Host, oh, I could do that, you're right. I could change the full host here, but I kind of like it as a shortcut. I tend to leave these as little shortcuts. You did SSH keygen, wildcard your host. And in your, are you sure you're in the right directory? Like in your home directory in Windows System for Linux? Whatever it is, Windows Subsystem. So like, if I just hit CD, I get a tilde here because I'm in my home directory. If I do print working directory, I'm in home Scott. But look in, make sure you're in home. Just hit CD, oops, CD. I'm in home, you'll be in home, life is yours, or whatever you've made it. And then if I cd.ssh and ls, well, I moved mine, but if I did an SSH keygen right now, and add it there, no passphrase, then I get ID RSA, which is the default, which it will automatically read, so that's definitely the easiest thing to do, and the public key. So I feel like your problem is just 100% SSH. You did an SSH keygen and you have nothing in there? What did SSH keygen say the path was? Did you type in a different path? Like, look, when I do SSH keygen, it says, where do you want to save it? What does yours say right here? I mean, it doesn't say this. I assume your name is here, right? And then don't even enter, don't type anything, just hit enter. Where to save the key? I just hit return. I want to overwrite what's there, enter the passphrase. I can have an empty passphrase. I'm just hitting enter, and then it's there. Now again, you don't have to do this. If you wanted to set up a config, you could point to your own identity file. Taltech, how's it going? Were you using my name? You can use my name. That's fine. Everybody can be Scott, and then everybody can make this. Okay, so we've got the thing, right? So now I deployed this, so I've got the same thing running on both of these, but now I have 2 subdomains running as 2 Dokku apps. Everything is all awesome. The one other thing that I might advise is, so now we're in this scenario where we're running some version of Ubuntu on this droplet, and if we're always living in Dokku world, it's really easy to pretend like, okay, we're all good, everything's secure, but that may not be true. And since if you're going to continue interacting with the server only through Dokku, who's like making sure the server's secure and that the server is safe? So there is another thing. Let's see. DigitalOcean automatic updates. Yeah. Keep droplets updated. So there's specifically, I think this thing. Yes, so you can set up automatic updates for Ubuntu. Ubuntu. I don't know that I've ever really known how to say that. And then you can say what kind of updates you want. You probably want to do at least the security updates in this unattended upgrades file. And then you can configure as needed, but then at least you know that, yeah, you're gonna add something to add periodic, which should cron. Yeah, so there's already a cron daily app. So if you add something in here, so if you just follow these instructions, you should be able at least to feel Ubuntu. Is that how everybody says it? Ubuntu. Anyway, at least this way you would know that your server is trying to automatically install what you would maybe hope were critical security updates. Ubuntu. That's kind of how I say it. I feel like that's pretty close to what I say. So what did we learn from this? I think we learned that I think Dokku is cool. And what I'm kind of curious about, so I still have a couple, my main portfolio site, for example, is still based on WordPress, because that's what I've been using for like over 15 years now. And I'm kind of tired of it, and I hate the new WordPress editor. But I use something called, to deploy to my DigitalOcean droplet, I use something called Server Pilot. It's really for like deploying WordPress or PHP sites to DigitalOcean. But I kind of want to get away from that. And I kind of want to move into a realm where everything's Dokku managed. And I did see that there is Dokku, there's a way to do Dokku, to have Dokku manage your WordPress install, which seems kind of cool, or maybe it seems terrible. The real answer is I probably just need to go through and like un-WordPressify my life. But I kind of am into this. I mean, I'm into the idea of having my own platform as a service, I guess. And so, you wrote a bedtime story? Tell me. Binary C, I know. I mean, I've like, right now it's just like a legacy thing, just because I have like 15 years of invested time and structure into WordPress, and it's just never been quite a good time to like totally redo it. Jekyll is totally what I use now for everything, mainly just because GitHub supports it natively. So yes, I do need to ditch that because the like dynamic parts of my portfolio site are very minimal and could be split out really easily, and most of it is just static content that could all be markdown based. So I just need to like, it's so boring. I just need to, I mean, how old is the oldest post in my portfolio? I have a lot of stuff. Oops. I've got to go back, like, the first post is 2003. So I have to go through 16 years of content and update it all. I'll do it one of these days, but man, I don't know if I'm ready. MK Docs. I wonder if I could use that for my portfolio. I feel like I want a little more fanciness, but maybe that could work. But again, Jekyll's okay. I like Jekyll pretty well just because it's really easy. Read the docs. Cool. You know what I did? You probably may have seen part of this stream, but it actually, I don't know if I mentioned it, but it actually worked really well. For that presentation I did, for that workshop presentation I did, I didn't even generate anything. I just used, I just wrote some CSS. Where was that thing? I'll never find it. This is only slightly tangentially related, but I actually really liked the way this worked out. Jobs 2019 PNCA workshops. This I'm going to continue doing this when I give presentations. Where the heck? Is it in here? Yeah. So I just wrote the outline for my workshop in Markdown, and then just made some CSS for the preview, the Markdown preview in. That was the wrong button. Visual Studio Code. And then I just gave my workshop like this. And so instead of making slides, these were basically my slides, and I added like a little mouse over to highlight stuff. But the thing that was handy about it is like, if I wanted to edit or mess around with any of the content, I could do it here. I could also have content. So anyway, that worked pretty well. So the web management for Dokku, do you think that's how you say it? Is it Dokku or Dokku? I don't actually know. I've been saying Dokku like Count Dokku. That's not how you spell that. Just say it. Somebody.
Dokku.
Dokku. Dokku.
Dokku.
So Binary C, I don't think there is a native web UI. You handle everything from the command line as far as adding new apps. I did see that there are a number of web interface projects for it. I have no clue if any of these are any good. Dokku. Okay, that's probably really how you're supposed to say it. But as far as I can tell, I might be mistaken on this. I don't know that it comes with one. I was poking around this morning and did see some projects. None of them look very huge. So I don't know if any of them is... just going by like vanity GitHub metrics. There doesn't seem to be a ton. I mean, that says web UI. But that's for DreamHost. So I would be kind of curious what people... Dokku. You'll Dockerize the Dokku and stick it inside Rancher. Is Rancher a... Kubernetes management. Actually, I did see that DigitalOcean. When did this happen? Deploy and manage container workloads in the cloud. So enable limited access. I wonder what that means. Like, does this make it easy to deploy containers? It looks like you could set up like, can you have one droplet with a bunch of containers? This whole container world is relatively new to me. But I did notice this was a seemingly new feature on DigitalOcean this morning. Anyway, that's out of the scope of today's office hours. So, Life is Yours. Did you get it to work? Are you working? Are you functioning? I do kind of want a web UI. I just don't know, like, I don't know what people use. I mean, here's some other platform as a service comparisons. Serious scaling needs. Flynn updated. This is, I mean, this sounds right for me, actually. Like, it doesn't scale, et cetera, but this actually seems like, for the kind of thing I typically use Heroku for, this seems perfect, because it's usually just some experimental thing that later would be deployed in a bigger way. So I'm pretty into this. Huge mission critical things. And I mean, maybe at this point, now that I've gone through the trial by fire of AWS, I would eventually redeploy things on AWS for scalability. I wonder if any of these are good. This one at least seems to be under active development 23 hours ago. There's no screenshots. I don't like it anymore. It's pretty interesting. This is suddenly now Binary C is hosting office hours for me. Yeah, I think so. It's what is Kubernetes? I don't know how to say it. Kubernetes? CloudFlare. I'm into CloudFlare. I have had good luck with it. It's pretty awesome. I mean, all the magical cloud stuff it does so much for free. Awesome. I highly recommend it. I use it as my primary DNS server plus all of this other fancy stuff. Like, it's so easy to do nice things. One thing I haven't turned on yet that I want to turn on is enforcing HTTPS. I just have to go through a bunch of things and make HTTPS work. All this old stuff. But I like it. It's pretty good. Okay. Life is yours. Are we good here? Are you happy? Life is yours is gone. You don't know yet? What do you mean you don't know yet? Let me check your website. TheLifeIsYours.j38.net. Look, it works. It's perfect. What else could you want? What else could you possibly want? Ooh, Benary's here. Are you streaming? Are you doing something cool or weird? Your stream looks like a Metro Exodus commercial to me right now. Spoilers. I'm still playing through Metro Exodus. I'm still not in love with it. There's like... I'm still like... I don't know. I feel like, for me personally, something's gotten a little lost in the translation to a bigger world. Stream starting soon. Actually, BinaryC, I have a question for you. That you mentioned like running a remote Debian instance that you had OBS running on. So I kind of want to do that. Well, here's what I would like to do. I would like to have some remote instance running somewhere that I can, whatever, VNC and or whatever, somewhere in the universe running that can always be streaming if I want to run Heat remotely and not have to do it from one of my machines. And so I would like to do that in a way or place that didn't cost very much money, but it would also need some amount of GPU power, I guess, if I was going to try to do WebGL. So I was trying to figure out what that meant. Like, where do you host stuff? It would be kind of nice to just have some... I don't know exactly what I want. I don't know that I've ever seen that. Like some sort of VPS that had a little bit of graphics power that didn't cost money, like or not a ton of money. Oh, I see. I love that you have a rack in your living room. Anybody heard of a place like that though? Like I want to run something a little graphical. It doesn't need to be super burly, but like something. Maybe I just need to stick a machine somewhere. I've been trying to, I was maybe going to do that at PNCA because I've got access there now. Pay to co-locate it. Yeah, heat in the winter. Yeah. I've been there. Warmed by hardware. What I would really actually like is something in the realm of a Raspberry Pi, but with some graphics capability. Because I've been looking, I could feel like I could set up 2 Raspberry Pis, one of them that is doing nothing but encoding and streaming the video, which I feel like is like 100% CPU usage at that point on a Raspberry Pi 3, and then another Raspberry Pi that's running content that is connected to it over like a little HDMI input adapter. So, but I would prefer something that's in that realm, but had a little more power to it. Like there are these things. What are these guys? I've almost decided that the real answer is like a cell phone. So like you run the content that you want on a cell phone, like build a Unity app, WebGL app, whatever, and it just runs on some Android phone, and then you spit the video out of that into the Raspberry Pi, and the Raspberry Pi just streams whatever you put in. Maybe? Because I have seen projects where people just made little Raspberry Pi boxes that will just stream whatever you feed them. There is because it has this thing where you can plug an HDMI cable into the camera module, like this. It was all about SSH. I mean, that's what I said yesterday. It sounded like an SSH thing. Okay, you're all good now? A+. I will say, if you're not, if you don't have experience with SSH, I could see how that could be weird. Or setting it up manually, how that could be confusing for sure. And the documentation certainly didn't help. So I kind of want to do this. Get this little thing for 15 bucks, plug it into a Raspberry Pi, and then I can just plug an HDMI cable in from whatever I want. From a computer or a cell phone or a game console or whatever. Figuring out what you want to use to collect your feeds. So you're like aggregating in streams and then streaming them out over OBS? What I used locally for that, this may be no help to you at all, because I think this is more of a, yeah, aggregating the piping. So I've been using NDI for that locally. Like if I have content on one machine that needs to get to another machine over the network, video content in a nice way, the NDI plugin for OBS is awesome for that. I have zero clue about how NDI works over the internet, like if it's even viable or if it's specifically like I've used this thing when I want to stream like from my laptop. Like I run OBS on my laptop. Yeah. So that worked locally. Yeah, that's all I've used it for. I don't have any idea if it's even remotely viable to do this over the internet. Maybe not. Oh, okay. So you need something more. Well, RTSP seems like a thing, right? I mean, as far as just making media go over the internet. Godspeed. Let me know what you figure out, because I'm definitely interested in making that happen. Because what I would like to do at PNCA is set up some sort of like thing that is always streaming, like it's always streaming, and then when students want to stream, they just stream to it, and then it will automatically broadcast out of the PNCA channel. Awesome. Yeah, let me know how that goes. Maybe you should have an office hour stream where you talk about it. Okay, what else do we need to do? I think I'm gonna make this. Maybe we'll just do this on stream one day. I have Raspberry Pis sitting all over the place doing nothing. Oh, what I was gonna say is, though, I've been looking at these things instead. These like Raspberry Pi competitors. There's so many Raspberry Pi competitors now that I cannot. Yeah. I mean, maybe I didn't quite understand what you were getting at yesterday. Sorry. There's so many Raspberry Pi competitors that I can't even tell what's good and what's just like a money grab. Maybe they all suck. But this one seems to be more robust in every way in terms of hardware. The thing that's a concern, though, is that the Raspberry Pi is so well supported in terms of software, like, because it's just what everybody tinkers on, even though the hardware is not that great. So I kind of want this dude. There's also this thing, Odroid, that's even more intense. Like these dudes. OpenGL ES 3.1. I think really 2.0 is all I'd need for. And this is a long-term support model for this thing. I kind of want this thing. I don't quite understand the difference between this one. I just don't know like the ARM chip differences. That's a Mali 450 GPU. 3 pixel processors, 2 vertex shader processors. No, no, don't, just go to the page. Go. Full profile. I mean, this seems like a more robust thing. Yeah, standalone boards for video encoding. I mean, there's fancy things like what's that thing called? Web presenter. Like there's expensive dedicated pro gear. Is this the one? No, this is not what I was thinking of. But yeah, actually something that had, what would be in, I guess, if there was some, like an MPEG encoder. I mean, on these, whatever system on a chip, maybe this does. I don't know. Maybe this does have video encoding on it. That would be handy. But I've definitely seen people do it with the Raspberry Pi, at least for like, I don't know. I think I just need to mess with it a little bit. Raspbian? Yeah, I mean, you just, well, Raspbian or even like, there's various flavors of Unix you can support on it. I just mean, or Linux, but I just mean like in terms of like every other aspect of it, like using the GPIO pins, whatever. Like Raspberry Pi, I just feel like is very well documented and well supported, whereas this other hardware seems to maybe not be as much. I don't know. I guess I just don't know. I feel like everybody knows about Raspberry Pi and you see examples and demos and stuff all over the place, but this thing seems cool. Does this have Bluetooth and yeah, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, CMOS camera port, etc., 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 etc. I mean, could potentially use that same thing. I should probably just start with what I have, right? Okay, life is yours. This is your stream. Is it all good? Are we all good here? I made a website for you. It's a very good website. But I think I want to destroy it now so I don't pay extra money to DigitalOcean. An IP address. Can I look at that IP address on stream? Better moderator tools. That's an interesting way to spell that. Is this Dokku'd? Are we Dokku'd here? I wonder if they have the new version Raspbian of you know what I don't like about the Raspberry Pi that seems so dumb to me? I mean, did you set all that up? Did you set your DNS to all your subdomains to point there? You could wildcard it. Here's the thing I don't like. I feel like the biggest advantage of a Raspberry Pi is if you wanted to make some weird little embedded piece of hardware and then just be done with it. The problem is if you do that, by default, it's just a Linux machine with the file system mount and rewrite. And so if you unplug it, it could easily crash and get your file system get corrupted. Like that sucks. And I've definitely had that happen before. And so you have to jump through all these hoops to make the file system read-only. And it's a bunch of steps, which seems so dumb to me. I feel like that should just be out of the box. When I install Raspbian, I should just have a one-line command that makes it read-only. Adafruit has scripts for it, but it's not super hard, but it's not trivial. It's like you got to do a bunch of stuff to make it read-only, which I think is dumb. I want a Raspberry Pi OS that is ready to be an embedded piece of hardware. In fact, I would like it to default to read-only and like force me to mount it as read-write to do the work. I don't know if any of these other, let's see, read-only OS for Raspberry Pi. Am I crazy in that? I feel like that seems like such an obvious thing you would want. Like, there's all kinds of people that talk about it and how you go through the steps, but it's annoying. Like, that should just be a thing that exists out of the box. Like, look at this. It's not trivial. Why is that not just an instant feature? It seems like an enormous oversight. But maybe the reality is that, like, truly read-only, reliable in trouble-free. Like, there's all these articles about it. The reality is, like, people buy Raspberry Pis and then tinker, like, touch them for 20 minutes and then they sit in the closet. I think the, like, population of people who actively use their Raspberry Pi is minuscule. Personally, I think it's minuscule relative to the number of devices they've sold. Because people get tricked and they're like, oh, cool, an easy thing, and then it's Linux. Fortunately, I wasted my youth with Linux, so it's okay, but yeah, I want a read-only distro. Nard. Industrial perennial environment. Any of these projects actually used? Oh, I want to see your rack picture. Could be a scary thing. Is that your apartment? Binary C, is that your house? You have a beautiful Ames chair. You have... I can't quite tell which... Is that an Aeron? What chair is at your desk? What appears to be a nice Herman Miller chair? Man, why is your apartment so beautiful? Your track lighting, high ceilings. You have a chair fetish? Those are nice chairs. What kind of office chair is that? I love your Ames lounge. I'm in the market for a new office chair. That is an Aeron? Okay. Man, that is a beautiful home. Nelson's in the dining room. Binary C. Okay, what does Life is Yours got going on over here? DNS record. Well, did you do the thing? Did you set up the way I set it up and make sure that you were in virtual host mode for your individual apps? Because that just worked for me without having to do anything else. Life is Yours. You PXE boot your Pi, so you boot them over the network. That's interesting, but there still has to be... I kind of like that, actually. That's kind of smart. I've never done that. That means somebody somewhere has to be the point of truth, but I guess that's easy enough, right? How could you... Binary C, do you do that? Like, what's your strategy for that? GTX 680 is your stream. Oh, Steam aggregator server. Cool. Network boot your Raspberry Pi. Stream, not Steam. Binary C, are you like a supervillain? What is your day job? How do you have? Where do you get your money for such nice chairs and robust networking hardware in your home? Excel and SQL. This all looks annoying. I mean, okay, I could do this. Wish there was an easier way. It seems like there should just be like... Nard. Not another Raspberry Pi. Is this thing actually maintained? Live USB. This is kind of what I want. I want Raspbian emulation. I don't know if I want an OS that's just maintained by a dude, though, you know? Like... Gone. I just feel like this should be an option. Okay, Binary C, but do you make charts for those people with too much money? Your domain doesn't work. Why not? It's working for me. Do you need to just flush your DNS cache or something? So it could be DNS takes a little time to propagate. It could be that you need to flush the cache at your OS level. Could also be that you need to flush the cache of your browser. If it was previously pointing somewhere else. In Windows, it's just ipconfig flush DNS. I wonder if Windows subsystem maintains its own. If so, it would be like, oof. I don't even know. I don't actually know if it like maintains its own. Get out of there. I would kind of imagine it would use like the Windows hosts. What is your problem? Yeah, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe that's all you need to do. Just flush it out here. I see. It's not that they need to understand the charts. You know, they just need to feel like they're getting their money's worth. Yes, I get overlays. TheLifeIsYours.no. I am indeed. It was successful! Great! I feel like that was 30 minutes of me streaming and then 45 minutes of me talking to Binary C. Well, I don't know. Do you have to? If you go into your command prompt and just ping that, what do you get? Do you not get the IP that you want? This is a good ping. I could only ping you twice and then it died. What happened? And if that doesn't work, you can try ipconfig flush DNS and then see if it works. Okay, so this is working, and when you ping, you're getting the IP address you expect that you've configured on your DNS server. We didn't even do anything heat related. I don't even have heat turned on. I should have at least had like the bevy swimming around or something. Heat is doing nothing on this stream. Okay, well if that's correct, then that sounds like a browser cache thing. If you're getting if everything's correct here, do you need to like do the thing where you go into you know, the thing in here, settings, and say disable cache while DevTools is open, and then just open your DevTools and then try? Well, why the heck is your browser not working? Try another browser, open and close your browser. If you're getting the correct IP when you ping, then it seems like a browser problem. To me, personally. Okay, I'm gonna delete all this stuff now. Let's make sure we delete the right server and not my actual server. This is the one from today, right? Where did I host this one? Yeah. Destroy. It'd be pretty funny if I accidentally destroyed my website. Okay. And then, did I already take the CloudFlare entries out? Oh my gosh, life is yours. You probably cost me like 60 cents. Why is that shark attacking me? You're worth it. I'd pay 60 cents for you, or however much that just cost. Okay. Well, I think that went okay, right? Our first office hours. Seems like you got the thing figured out. I learned something. We talked about nonsense. We found out that Binary C is like a billionaire playboy living in some beautiful condo high above the city, looking over his domain like Bruce Wayne. Okay, so now in the Life is Yours, the first one is free, but going forward, all office hours are $125 an hour. What else? So I need to go out into the world. I gotta do that video. That has to happen tonight. I gotta make the video tonight. Binary C, it's just always dark where he's from because he lives in Gotham City and it's just dark at all times. What else? Okay, we gotta finish up. I'm getting tired of heat a little bit. I mean, we've just been focused on it too much. We'll make the video, we'll get it in the world, and then we'll see what happens. And then we will get back to doing other things. And other things might include starting on that Mongo hackathon. Did we talk about that? I know we talked about it a little bit. Cool.js. I'm sure that exists, right? One of my favorites of all time was seriously.js, but I don't think seriously.js is still around anymore. We want... Where was this? Binary C, you should participate this as well. How's JS not a domain ending? I don't know. .dev is now. That's a relatively new one, I think. We want this thing, the MongoDB World Hackathon. What seems cool about it is they seemingly don't care at all what you make as long as it uses Mongo. First place prize is 10 Gs. Top 3 get to fly out for that competition, and then there's all these other prizes. So I feel like this is an invitation just to make something that I felt like making anyway, and then figure out a way to use Mongo. Mongo Stitch seems interesting, so we might try that. You're going to use Mongo? Smart. And then you can win the contest. But I also want to get more into switch from Redis to Mongo. Yes, that's actually smart. I'll win one contest for AWS and then switch it. I could do that. It would be a little bit annoying, not horribly annoying. What's nice is that the Redis adapter. What if you could? Let's see. Wonder if somebody wrote a Mongo adapter for it. Wow, I really could do it in like one line of code. Subdomains with an IP. Yeah, you can use subdomains with an IP. For an A record, you mean? Yeah. You can use wildcards. You can do whatever you want. Mongoose. Oh, no. No, you can't do that. Not like overlays dot IP address. No, but you can have overlays point to an IP address. I don't know exactly how it is for your DNS host, but you just need an A record for whatever. This would be pretty funny. Just change heat to point to this with this adapter. If you have no DNS, well, no. No, because the subdomain, I mean, that's the named part. That's what the DNS is. That's how it's got to work. Okay. I think we're done with this stream. I think our office hours went okay. We got off topic for 45 minutes, but that's okay. Just don't watch the last 45 minutes of the video. If you watched the whole video up to this point, you shouldn't have. You should have not watched the last 45 minutes. You should have just watched the initial part. Okay, I think that was good. Maybe we'll stream again later today. I've really got to make that video tonight. I don't want to. I don't feel like it. But I think that's all. Thanks for hanging out. Binary C, Life is Yours, Tall Tech, anybody else who stopped by, super appreciate it. And I will see you soon. See you later. Bye.